Hey guys, welcome back. If you've been a longtime subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. If you're new to the channel, I'm Dustin and this is Revere Glass, and today we're doing a collab pendant with Rook Glass. Rook Glass came over last month for a workshop for the online school, revereglass.com. And while he was here, we also filmed a YouTube video for you guys. In the YouTube video today, we're making this, and we also made this cool pendant too. All super kinetic, chains moving, super beautiful stuff, a combination of jewelry and glass, two things I love very much. I can't thank Rook Glass enough for coming out here. He was just a pleasure to have around the studio, and working with him was magic. He's got 17 years experience, and him and I have a lot of crossover interests like jewelry and mathematics and sacred geometry, so it was really fun. I can't thank you enough, Rook. Thank you for coming. I can't wait to have you back out next year. So speaking of the online school, we've been doing a pipe 1 making class. It's 10 projects, it's been 10 weeks long, and it's open to all of the members of the school, no matter what level of subscription that you're on. In the class, we've been going over many different shapes, everything from basic bubblers to Sherlocks, 10 different projects, 10 different shapes. And it's been really fun to share that with you guys. And if you're interested, that's still going on. It's available for everybody. And the whole class will be an at your own pace class after the live class is finished. So make sure to check that out. We have a very special class coming up on the online school. It's with the founder of High Volume Oxygen, Marc, and he's doing a deep strike fuming class, which is going to be super special. Very cool techniques, and that's going to be in October. So it's filling up a lot. So if you'd like to be part of it, please go to revereglass.com, sign up, and it's going to be an 8-hour class. Marc's an excellent teacher, quite experienced. So I want to thank Marc for coming out and invite you guys to join us for the day. That'll be in October. I know I've talked about the shirts for a little while, and they're about to be at my doorstep. So within the next 2 or 3 weeks, please follow the Instagram account at Revere Glass, and you'll know when I'm launching the first 4 shirts that are available for you guys. Super beautiful designs, and I can't wait to share them with you guys. I also wanted to thank our sponsor, Mountain Glass Arts. They're an amazing company that really treats its customers well, and they ship all over the world. So if you're interested in blowing glass, or you just need a new supplier because your current supplier shipped you broken stuff, or they don't have great customer service, I'd really like to recommend Mountain Glass Arts. Just tell them that you saw this in the video, and you'll definitely get a little discount. Thank you, Mountain Glass Arts. We really appreciate your continued support, and the entire community really appreciates the way you do business. So thank you, Mountain Glass Arts. A lot of you guys ask me how to work with me and how do you come out to Berkeley. Check out the website revereglass.com for the private glass retreat. I offer a few different options for coming out to Berkeley, staying in the Airstream, really enjoying the creative sanctuary and the creative space. Send me a message and I'd love to work with you and help you improve your glass blowing skills, make a few projects together. In a couple of weeks, you guys, something very special is going to happen. It's going to be the first Burning Man in 2 years. Everyone's super excited to go. If you're planning to be there, come to Camp ? Say what's up to me. I'm probably gonna have some glass blowing stuff so we can blow glass together, and that'll be at the end of August, so I'd love to see you guys there. One thing I also wanted to mention is that I've been getting a lot of feedback lately from the online school and from peers and students. A lot of people were letting me know how these videos have helped them, showed them different techniques, and that really fills me up. It makes me feel so good. So if these videos have helped you, have brought community to you, has helped you with the glass blowing techniques, let me know in the comments. I read them and I really deeply appreciate knowing how my work has impacted you in your career or your life. One thing I like to remind myself is how lucky I am that I have a body that works and that I do what I love for a living. And if you're blowing glass, if you're wanting to blow glass, appreciate the journey, appreciate your body, appreciate the blessings that you have, because life is hard enough as it is. And so try to enjoy those moments that you have that are full of bliss and joy. All right, you guys, let's get in the studio with Rook Glass and we'll make this pendant. Thank you so much for watching. All right, guys. So welcome into the studio. Today, I have Rook Glass, special guest with us, and we're going to be making a pendant. Super interesting stuff with links, and so yeah, I'm super excited to share this guy. Welcome to the channel, Rook. Thanks for coming.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. It's a blast being there.
Yeah, Rook came out and taught a workshop, and we had a bunch of students, and everyone loved it. It was a great class, so yeah, thanks again for doing that. And if you guys want to check it out, it's on the website. All right, so I have a Murrine here that I made earlier, and we're going to use this as a component for this pendant. So I know people are real curious as, how you got into glass and maybe where you're from. If you want to share a little bit about your journey, I think that everyone would be really curious on how you got here.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I've been doing glass for quite a while. I think 2005, 2006 is about when I started, and I got a job in a head shop. Just was cruising in there and saw a little help wanted sign, and my buddy got a job blowing glass, and then could tell it was something really cool, and I worked there for about 6 months, mostly doing prep and designing wrap and rakes and really basic stuff before getting let go. But that got me addicted to it and just stuck with it after that, and have just been on a journey sort of self-teaching and picking up knowledge from everywhere and taking classes whenever I can. I went to college for painting, so I have a little bit of an arts background. But yeah, just really enjoy blowing glass and making art.
And where are you from?
Denver, Colorado, and that's where I currently am too.
Yeah,
pretty good glass scene.
Yeah, there's definitely a good glass scene in Denver. And you have a like some sort of mathematical background, right? Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I do. Not really a math background, but heavy math interest. Consider myself a little bit of a geometer, and I think sacred geometry sort of was a gateway, combined with MC Escher and Bucky Fuller and a couple other greats really just pushed me to focus on pattern and symmetry and mathematics. So that's where a lot of my art and interests are at right now.
Yeah, if Rook left me this really beautiful sculpture made out of toothpicks, you guys. It's a Merkaba, super interesting. So yeah, I mean, his artist exploration goes wider than glass, and it's really cool to see. So feel free to follow him on Instagram at Rook Glass to check out what he's doing.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know, been switching, doing a little less and less glass and just doing different mediums more and more. So my day-to-day looks like 2 hours of glass, 2 hours of computer, 2 hours of sculpting, really just merry-go-round the arts.
I mean, the creativity can flow in so many different ways and so many different mediums, and it's definitely cool to explore different sides of art and different forms of creativity. So I have this Murrine that I've encased on either side. So I flame polished the Murrine, and then I grabbed a 10 mil rod and melted it over the Murrine and sealed it on, and then another 10 mil rod on the other side. So I have clear on each side, and then I put a black backing on it. And this is going to be one of the pieces of the pendant we're making. So I'll attach a punny to the other side, switch the access, and that way we can line it up good. So do you work in a studio by yourself, or do you have other shopmates?
My girlfriend's a jeweler, and sort of a complimentary studio set. She uses torches and needs ventilation. So I'm lucky enough to have her around making stuff around me, but just me in my house. I have a little home studio.
That's beautiful. I mean, that's the dream, right? Working at home with your partner, being creative. What could be better than that?
For my style, I think it just really works well.
So I'm going to make a few smaller Murrines, encasements. It's the same Murrine, but it's pulled down, and that way we'll have some matching components that go for it. There's a lot of different ways to get these smaller Murrines encased. For me, the stick and snap doesn't work. I feel like it's too thin a little bit for me. A lot of people are super good at it. So I like to do a similar technique as I did on the big one. Just heat up, encase it, and then back the back with black. Yeah. So we're gonna make 3 of these, I think, for this piece. I have the paddle here, just flattening that out. So you work on a pretty small scale, Rook.
Yes.
You know, compared to most glass
And
blowers.
I've done a lot of large scale work, but I've been slowly I don't know, I've enjoyed the small scale stuff a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot less stressful and hard on the body and cheaper on materials.
Mm-hmm. What kind of torch are you using at home?
I use Red Max, so a Nortel Minor and a Red Max.
That's really good. I mean, I think a lot of people would like to hear that somebody professional making beautiful work like that is using a Red Max, because they're often underrated with how far you can get with just a Red Max.
Yeah, and I see a lot of people doing lathe work with their Red Max hand torch. They'll pull some pretty big bases and stuff, so it can kick some heat.
Is that the torch that you started on?
Yep.
Same. And how long have you been blowing glass?
I think 17 or 18 now.
It's the same torch you've had for 17 years?
Probably had it for 15 years. Yeah.
Wow. That's impressive. That's awesome. So I have a few of these marbles that I'm making. Same Murrine, just on a smaller scale.
But on the note of the Red Max, I think that was the worst part about doing this class at your place, is now I have to buy a GTT.
Oh, really?
I kicked through my lessons like in half the time I was expecting. I tried to time it out and have an idea how long everything was going to take me, and working on the GTT, it was so much faster. I was like, oh geez.
They're nice. You know, a lot of people like them. They're faster. They have this penetrating heat. So the worst part is you want to buy a GTT now, huh?
Yeah. At least get a Lynx or something.
Yeah, for your work, you could probably do almost everything with a Lynx. You know, they're super versatile, and they actually can get pretty big too, like a pretty big flame. So you used a Mirage, and you probably mostly used the Lynx flame on it.
Yeah, I think only the Lynx on it.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna switch the access here, get this ready for Rook to connect, and we're gonna make this with 3 little balls and 1 big one at the top, and then Rook's gonna put these together with some links. There he is on the Mirage, and yeah, starting to pull some stringers for some links, huh?
Yeah, so with your I'm doing these chain link components. I tend to pull down just a ton of extra stringers because it's hard to hit the exact diameter you want each time at that scale. So I end up pulling usually twice as much length as that I'll actually use on a piece, just because I'm usually going for, I don't know, 1.5 millimeter, and then just compare them afterwards visually to pick the ones that match.
So Rook is getting flattening that ready and prepping up the bale for this, so he can start to build off of it.
Also did a little bit of a gather and flattened it out, and then bend it around to do a bale shape, and add a punty to be able to put it on the body of something else.
So what would your advice be? Look at that, how he's going over the handle.
So yeah, sometimes when I'm trying to freehand those, it'll get crooked or sideways, and I feel like going just straight over a tool to maintain the shape, I can keep it a lot straighter, and there's a lot less readjustment at the end to go back and fix. It just, I don't know, for me, keeps everything really straight to go right off the side. Look at it straight on.
Yeah, that technique for making a bale is really cool, and it provides a nice look and a super sturdy bale in the end. Let us know in the comments if you guys like to make your bales like this. And you can make them bigger or smaller too, depending on what you are pulling them over. Do you remember where you first saw this technique?
Ooh, I do not. It's a classic one though, I feel like.
Yeah, super classic. So I think people would be interested in this torch holder for the mini torch that you have. How does that work?
So it's a great little holder. It's articulated arm, and then you can just pop the mini torch in and out of it really easy. Vardy glass tools, I think is the name. I'll have to correct that in the comments or something, but it's just really nice to be able to articulate your hand torch and be able to use it as a bench torch and create really specific angles if you're resting your hands off the table or just want a little extra assist. It's like a third arm for a torch, just a really great tool.
Is there how many glass blowers do you think are working on a small scale as you? It's pretty unusual.
Well, it seems like a little bit more and more people are getting into the tiny scale and microscopic stuff. But maybe a couple dozen people working at, I don't know, a scale that challenges the eyes and it's a little where the scale becomes sort of the trick. Or
do you ever use any sort of magnification, like a optivisor or readers or anything like that?
Usually not. I've tried to a little bit, but with the diodids and everything, it gets a little cumbersome on the head. To have, Danny Hoffman likes to magnify because he's working, I think, at half the scale or third the scale of me.
He's amazing. He taught a class here, and his work is incredible. And the scale that he works on is really, really crazy.
Yeah, if you guys haven't checked that workshop out, go see it on the website, on Dustin's website. It's incredible work.
Yeah, he uses a magnifying glass, but he's making like little balls for his molecules that are microscopic, like super tiny, those little connections that he's doing. All right, so now Rook's got the pendant out, the body of the pendant, and gonna attach the bail with a double steel.
Heated it up a little bit in a annealing flame, which I wasn't really sure on the GTT. It's because I was new to that torch a little bit. But it was really easy and friendly. But yeah, I got both sides really hot, stuck it together, and added a handle on it. And then I think I go back in with the mini torch and really melt in those seams on any connection.
All right, so attaching a punny on the bottom, and then that's going to give you some stability to work on that bail.
Yeah, flattening out the edges just a little bit to get a nice angle on them, keep the edges real sharp, or else it sort of has a oblong shape.
That's interesting how you slide on the corner of the marver like that. That's a pretty cool trick.
Yeah, if you're just in one spot, I don't know, it pushes like the front and back a little bit more, I feel like, when you're sliding. And yeah.
That's kind of a heavy little centerpiece. It's probably more heavy than normally is on your pendants, right?
Yeah, that's probably one of the heavier centerpieces I've done, but it was really fun to work with.
Yeah, you guys should definitely check out his work, and we'll try to throw up a couple of pieces in the video for you guys. But Rook is making pieces that are really kinetic, and you can move them around, and yeah, super beautiful. The way that he's doing this is unusual for glass. And we have a extreme close-up for you. Obviously multiple camera angles as usual, but now we have a super close-up on the little work, so you'll be able to see some of that at different times in the video as well. So yeah, talk us through how you're making these links.
So after I picked out good sections of rod that were the right diameter, I'll just take them to about 7 or 8 inches and put a bend right in the middle, and then use my hands to sort of adjust and keep both sides parallel. But I'm not really worried about one end being too finished yet. It's just holding those two rods in place next to each other. And then I'm just slowly picking each side into each other on the opened end until they just barely touch, and then melt that in and let it even out. And then I put on a punty and repeat the same operation on the other side.
And keep working down the rods?
Yeah, so usually doing that with 6 or 7 inches is enough to pull 7 or 8 links.
That's efficient. That's a cool technique.
And it works at larger scales too. If you're doing it with 3 or 4 millimeter rod, just bending it and then pulling all off the same, having the backside just hold the spacing right.
Yeah,
I was gonna ask if it would,
I was wondering if you think it would work on a larger scale.
Yeah, that's how I've done it on like up to 6 mil.
Nice connection.
Slowly pull them together and not try to gather too much glass, and let the heat melt it in smooth. And yeah, a lot of this kinetic work is dependent on just repeating the same things over and over again and making like a lot of little links. And I feel like the more little components you're able to add together, the more interest it's going to have and more little details. And I think these are the links I'll be using on the Murrine marbles. So they're a half link, and I'll be joining that side to a Murrine marble to hang off of the main body.
So now you've taken the links off, and you're slowly pushing them together with the paddle on the other side?
Yeah.
Is there any tricks for that on how to get it? Because they're so small, and heat really like the amount of heat that we're using really could distort the glass. So what are some of the tricks for keeping it organized and straight?
Definitely keeping like the smallest flame you can or can bear to work with, and then skirting off the edge of the flame, and just being hyper conscious and aware of where angles, and if you can accidentally brush it through the flame at this scale, it'll definitely like melt things together or ruin stuff. So a lot of the game at this scale is like focusing and just directional control of the heat, and that's one of the reasons the torch stand's so useful. Is you can get it at like a really specific angle or the most ergonomic angle for it. And then here I'm using a little titanium pick and just really small tools and anything you can get to get in there.
Do you think that because a GTT can produce a really similar flame, like as far as small, super tight flame, do you think that if you had a GTT, you would still be using the hand torch? Or do you think that you use the hand torch because a Red Max can't really get that pinpoint with the right heat?
I think I'd still be using the hand torch just because of the angles. Like I'm really, picky about being able to get in from a back angle and almost have, really close mobility. I'm just able to get in so much closer when it's just that little, almost like a needle that I'm having to worry about working around rather than a flat face. Like even with a Nortel Minor is too in the way sometimes for some of these small operations, even though it can get the flame that I need. It's just in the way.
So adding a little bit of glass there for strength, and maybe it got a little thin, or what happened there?
Yeah, I think it pulled out just a little too thin or pulled away, or to have it be balanced and symmetrical in the right way. There just wasn't enough. So just going and poking in, just trying to leave just a tiny little marble dot and add some strength to it to have a consistent diameter for these little attachments.
So also you did a double seal, which is really interesting. It was on a small scale, but I think people would be super curious for any tips or tricks on how to do that double seal that you did from the two prongs of the link onto the base of the Murrine.
Luckily, at the small scale, it's a lot easier to hit both, or hit the heat base on both sides of that. And larger things, you usually have to get out calibers and measure to know. And I'll use little markings and sometimes draw with a Sharpie or something that'll burn away in the flame. But it'll give you a little bit of where to start your heat. And you could get both little spots just really hot, a little above orange glow, and tack them together. Get a little pull.
Yeah, it's a little tricky, but I think the main point is getting both both attachment points hot at the same
and
time.
having an even heat, on both
Yeah.
of them too, as much as you can. So soaking into the larger piece with more heat earlier on.
All right, just going in there with the mini torch and cleaning it up a little bit and making sure that the tops of this, the connections there are melted in. And then I think you're gonna do one more as well on the bottom here.
Yeah. And then, I was doing a little flame annealing between each time, because this does stress it out with a really high intense heat. It's such a tiny little area, that mini torch. So heating it up after each one of these, just to let it all relax, I think is really important.
When you're working on this scale, do you work the whole, I mean, let's pretend that big thick Murrine wasn't there, but if you were working on your normal work, do you go into the kiln for annealing, or do you because it's so small, are you able to just work outside the whole time until it's done?
I usually work outside the kiln until it's done, or I'll flame anneal it and just put it on the bench until it's done. But a lot of the components or bigger stuff before that, I always will anneal. I like to work in steps. So do like all the chains one day, all the body components, and then like all the bales all on separate days. And I'll anneal all of those in between those days. So when I go to put it all together, they don't have any stress, and you could just sort of jump in and shock the glass a lot. It can take a lot more after it's been annealed.
What about selling your work? Do you have any advice for people who are selling their work, or do you work with galleries, or do you just do it on Instagram? How do you do this?
It's been a legacy, or like not a legacy, a journey. I've definitely worked with a lot of shops and done a lot of online stuff. I feel like early on in the 2010s and after, I was doing a lot of auctions and online sales and working Facebook. There's several groups, and Instagram was able to build a pretty big audience or some good relationships with collectors. But at some point I lost my Facebook account and my Etsy page and all the main places I was making income from. So my advice would be, don't get too dependent on just one source. Try to diversify where you have your content. And if you get to just one way of making money, it can get tricky sometimes. So my mentality's always been to have as many streams open as possible, and they all can gather up and make a river.
Yeah, that's a good motto. What was it like having your Instagram shut down, and why did that happen? I think that's probably a huge concern for so many glass artists, because Instagram can be a real source for meeting people, making sales, So how did that work, and what happened?
In 2015, Facebook was doing big cleanups to get rid of fake accounts and bots. And because I didn't have a real name or personal thing, and I think there might have been some weird stuff going on in the industry at the time. But yeah, I just kept getting flagged and taken down repetitively.
Wow.
I don't know if somebody had a vendetta or something, but it felt like it almost.
Yeah.
And then tried to get it back, and just was able to get the data, but to be able to go build all those reviews and connections and find all those people again, was just a lot of hours and hours of investment that you don't necessarily own if you're on their sites.
Yeah. So, how many followers did you have when it was taken down?
I don't remember. Probably it was like over 5K. And then I know I had like several hundred reviews on my Etsy page too. It takes a while to get positive reviews, and that was one of the nice things about Etsy, is that it was able to sort of see evidence like, oh, other people are buying this and are happy. And
yeah. Does Etsy work pretty well for you? Do you still use Etsy?
No, I stopped after that.
Yeah.
After
do you
I
have
got
your own
kicked off.
website where people could buy stuff?
I do Big Cartel. And those are available like through the egg page.
Yeah.
And I've had a website in the past, but I didn't really have traffic on it to justify it.
Yeah. So we're doing the same thing here with the smaller scale. So this is the smaller Murrine that are going to be the base of the pendant, and just adding one link on there. So Rook can start building the links to connect these.
It's all about just adding a bunch of different components you can connect together. And this Murrine was really fun to work with. I've never done one of these pendants like this.
Yeah, it was definitely cool to see the combination of our two styles together in your shaping. And yeah, I love jewelry. As you know, I have a little bit of a background in jewelry too, so making wearables or anything in the jewelry genre always kind of feels good.
I'm sort of in the history of like glass lamp working too. I've always been a strong tradition of really small, trinkety, I don't know, playful whimsies.
All right, so we have to make 3 of these with each a hook, and then a couple of links on each one. So now you're attaching punny there to give a little bit of strength to the connections.
I think it was to actually pull off the bottom punty and flame polish the bottom of the Murrine, because then it'll be easier to grab the whole thing with tweezers and polish the little part of the little chain link.
So we got the end marble on there with the link, and just cleaning this up a little bit. What kind of tools do you normally have at home? Are they similar to like the diamond shears and stuff that I'm using, or is there specific tools that you like to use?
No, your tools are much nicer than anything I use. I like to improvise and use any handmade tools that I can. And just really basic stuff though, mostly just like carbon and some metal picks. And nothing too fancy. I've started off with some weird mentalities about what was cheating and what was right, or what you're allowed to do in glass, and I think it really limited me. Like I didn't have rollers for the first 8 years. Like if you don't have rollers, go get some rollers. They're so useful and helpful. I didn't have a mini torch for the longest time, and that was a big game changer. But
I think that's a good point. Like the idea of what's cheating in glass, because that's something I've heard before and felt myself. And I think that, I mean, the perspective of saying nothing is cheating and use the best tools or most efficient equipment that you can, I like that philosophy better, because ultimately the goal is to make the best quality work you can. And so if you need a tool, or if a tool helps, like for example, simple tool, the ground glass joint tools that are available now, where they have a indentation for the lip and you squeeze it and it really helps you form the joint. I mean, it's not cheating, because you can't just put the glass in there and squeeze it and you're done. You have to be careful. You have to be mindful of how that's going in. And I think that's, the lathe, or, the Nicola, there's so many things you could be like, oh, that's cheating. But like ultimately for me, and you guys can take your own perspective, but if you can spend time blowing glass and you're enjoying it, you're winning. That life is hard. And so if you can enjoy moments and creativity, don't worry about if somebody thinks you're cheating. They're probably just jealous that you have a studio where you're having fun.
Anybody who thinks that you're cheating isn't a buyer. Buyers never think that. Or collectors or appreciators. Everybody just like the final product. Like to see. If it was a little easier to get there, that's just made it more fun.
Totally. So now we're just connecting the links, so one link at a time, fishing it through, right? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. And the hard part about this sometimes is I'm using a punty that's the same size as the chain links, so it's a really weak connection. You're not going to be able to get that strong of a connection with like 1 to 1 mil rod. So just try not to put stress on it or shock it or bang it against the table at all is extra important.
When did you start making chains, and how'd you get into that? Because there's not a ton of people doing it. There's a few out there, but and it's become a little bit more popular over the last few years. But what kind of motivated you to make the chains?
It was just a really fun technical challenge. I think back in 2016 or so, I was pushing myself to see how small of glass I could make and I ended up making some chains that were a little less than 1/2 millimeter, and that was my limit. And I probably could have gone smaller if I used some visor or magnification, but just by doing by hand, I just wanted to push myself. And it's seen, do you know her name who does the chainmail?
No, but like this, the wearables.
Yeah.
The wearable stuff. I've seen it, but I can't mention her name. I don't know it.
I'll try to click that into the comments, but she was a big inspiration, just seeing like, oh, this can move around and glass can touch each other, it won't crack.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if I was doing this kind of scale, I would probably want to magnify what I was doing with a optivisor or some reading glasses or something. Even I use that too in my own work on my bench, and I don't usually work this small, but again, it's like, it's not cheating. It's a tool that can help you improve what you're making, you know?
Yeah, and that's who's doing the chainmail is Kim Edwards. And she's been doing that for like at least 10 years and just does some really amazing, complicated chainmail. So recommend you follow her on Instagram if you're not already, guys.
Yeah, for sure. So we got this, we're putting it together, and now I think we're gonna get one more link in there and then put that together.
Join all the final pieces together. So generally using the smaller pieces and get as much chain on them, and then having the big piece be the last connection, so it's not holding as much weight. And yeah, we annealed everything in between these two, so that pendant I'm able to hold it and not worry about it all being hot.
Yeah, that's important to note, you guys, that they went through a cycle. You can see earlier in the video it was nighttime, now it's daytime, so this happened the next day. After the pendant, the main body was cool, so he could hold them without a punny, and definitely a lot more room to move it around and get it all together. One last seal. There we go. Look at that connection. Pretty cool stuff. I love I love watching glass blowers in general, but especially people that do things outside of my comfort zone is really beautiful for me to watch. Like, this is just super cool to see all these links and going together like this on this scale. It was a lot of fun.
That was another motivation for me to start doing links, was just that it felt low pressure. Like if you ruined a couple, it was just a couple minutes and a little bit of glass. It wasn't 3 days and dropped the piece on the floor.
Oh, I know. Glass can be hard when you work for many days and it just cracks, and that happens to all of us. So yeah,
just got to keep going and learn to roll with the flow.
All right, so now we got everything all connected. Go in for a final touch up here and seal that together. And there we go. Let's put a string on here, and we can show you guys a close-up of how that's going to look. Perfect. Looks great.
Yeah. It was so inspiring to be there. It was such a fun place, man. I felt really creative, really fun.
Yeah, it's a beautiful creative sanctuary, and I love to host people and kind of get everyone out of normal life and into just a space to be creative and enjoy the environment and kind of forget about everything else for a few days and just focus on the art and kind of get back to that original feeling that we had when we started. And
I cannot thank you enough for that, pen. It was such an honor too to just be part of the awesome stuff you're doing for the glass world. It's such a, I don't know, just thank you from everybody in glass for providing so much education and content and cool knowledge. Just, it's a really special thing you're doing in the world, and I really appreciate you making the glass world better. Like, thousands of glass blowers are better because of this. So
Yeah, well, I think it's one of my motivating factors is that I think it's easy to lose techniques. People can be very secretive of techniques, and somebody could forget it, they could die, and then that technique is lost forever. And for me, I really want to spread these techniques and make it open source, because even if we show you something, that doesn't mean that you can go do it. It's going to be practice and practice and years. And in that time of practice, you're going to modify things and come up with new things that then you can share with the community. And so it's super motivating for me to be able to create a library of information that's online, that's accessible for people, and that years down the road, these techniques won't be lost. They'll be available. So here's the pendant, you guys, and you can see the three Murrines on the bottom and the one big one. I really like how these links turned out, and we were using grape for this piece.
Yeah, I was just so happy to do this collab because I don't really use Murrine, and I would have just never been able to make something like this on my own. I think that's one of the coolest parts about collab, is seeing two different worlds collide and see what comes out, and it's just something more special and magic than I think either would have done on our own. So it's always fun to do collabs.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to have you out, and then I'm looking forward to having you back out again next year, and we'll do some more stuff.
Awesome, can't wait.
All right, you guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for checking that out. It was super fun to make that with Rook, and I really love the combination of jewelry and glass. You guys sent me a few questions, so here's the first one. The first one is from Chiari Gray. They'd like to know what the machine is called. I think they're talking about the Niquala, and you can check that out and Mike Peterson's other cool inventions in one of the last few videos. It's called The Future of Glassblowing Technique, and it's super cool. We went over to Mike's laboratory and engineering glassblowing studio. He's a mad scientist, man, super genius. I love spending time with Mike, and it's called the Niquala, and you can look it up. And Mike has been so generous as to offer you guys, the viewers, a 5% discount when you mention that you saw it in the video. So yeah, I just want to thank Mike Peterson for his contribution to the glass industry and for his friendship. Thanks, Mike. The next question is from Chucky Whiskers. They're asking if I mix my own colors sometimes. And absolutely. I did that in a previous video to kind of show you guys how to use a drill to mix colors. I think I mixed a purple and a sparkle color together to make my own purple sparkle. And you can do that by just drill mixing your colors or by hand. And you can even mix some different shades. So if you want to get different tones of yellows or blues, you can mix those together and make your own colors. It's absolutely something I'd recommend, and it'll bring a level of uniqueness to your work. Thanks for the question. Shadow Walker is asking about Jet Black, which is a North Star Glassworks color. It's a really great black. I use it a ton in my work. And they're asking if I notice that it gets hazy or gray sometimes, maybe blue. And it can, especially if you're using a reduction flame. So you want to make sure to use a little bit more oxygen with that color, and it's pretty stable in general. So there are some other blacks that you could use, like the Glass Alchemy Grape, which is a great black, but it's a little bit less dense. So it's only good for some applications, which is the same thing for Jet Black. It's pretty dense and pretty stiff, so it's not great for all applications, but if you need a really solid black, it's a great color. North Star Glass and Glass Alchemy have been making incredible colors for many years, and they're always coming out with new stuff. I want to thank Abe from North Star Glass and Jody and Thomas from Glass Alchemy for being innovators in the industry and giving us artists tons of cool colors to work with. Back in my day when I started, there was only 4 colors available. And so it's really a blessing to see that there's hundreds of different colors and shades available. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to see the journey of the glass industry. So thank you to the color makers, and absolutely Jet Black's a wonderful color. All right, you guys, I wanted to thank you so much for watching the video and watching the videos on the channel. It really means so much to me. I want to thank Rook Glass for coming out. Thank you. It was a pleasure having you. Make sure you guys follow Rook Glass on his Instagram, and we'll see you guys in the next video, which will be in just a couple weeks.